Hey guys, this is Fruitio Wrights.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Stanny Crunch, and this is Cereal with a C.
When the toast is burning, all the milk has turned, and Captain Crunch is waving farewell.
Today we are here to talk about the Crucible and Salem witch trials.
Our main focus will be on the ordinary events by the residents of Salem.
These events were used against the people to make them look guilty in court and very Satan-like.
Back in these days, the courts were very biased about events occurring that were considered to be witchcraft, but are currently recognized as ordinary activities today.
One example is a woman named Martha Corey, who read a large quantity of books. The people of Salem thought this was very odd. One individual in particular was her husband Giles.
Giles was a religious man, and he believed that Martha's readings were interrupting his studies. Giles quoted that Martha's readings often bothered him while he recited the 10 Commandments, and when Martha stopped, Giles began to recall all of the commandments without any trouble.
Now, reading is considered a normal activity and is recommended because it improves our vocabulary tremendously. Also, Giles Corey wasn't fully honest when he was blaming Martha because he didn't put much time or effort into his recitals.
However, Martha Corey was also suspected of more severe witchcraft. Martha was accused by a man named Walcott for murder of a pig.
Walcott had bought a pig from Mrs. Corey before the witchcraft trials began. Soon after this purchase, the pig passed away. Walcott had returned quickly after the animal's death in hopes for a refund.
Martha says to him, "Walcott, if you haven't the wit to feed a pig properly, you'll not live to own many." From that day on, he blamed Martha for using witchcraft to kill all of his pigs 4 weeks after he obtained them.
No one would believe these claims by Walcott because how do you expect a pig to survive without food?
Maybe it's a spider pig, Fruity.
No, Stanny, it's not a spider pig.
Hey, Fruity, what do you call a redhead having a temper tantrum?
I'm not sure. What is it, Mr. Crunch?
A ginger snap.
Ha 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 ha.
Hello, we're back. Sorry, we just had a little breakfast break there, but here's Fruity.
Okay. Well, anyways, I don't know if this girl is a ginger snap, but she did have a snappy attitude. And that girl's name is Ruth.
Ruth was an only child in the Putnam family because her mom, Anne, was very unfortunate with her childbirth with only 1 out of 8 of her kids living. At the age of 10, Ruth had been throwing many tantrums.
There were worries that Ruth could be a victim of witchcraft. Most of these fears come from her parents, Thomas and Ann Putnam, because Ruth wasn't communicating with her parents and she didn't eat much throughout the day. Ann's reasoning for these actions is that Ruth's soul was taken and she had been deeply affected by the murder of her siblings by witchcraft.
It's crazy to think that these people can assume that this girl is possessed just because she isn't being active. Today, if a child acts like Ruth, the parent punishes them until they change their attitudes.
On the same note, there's another girl with similar issues to Ruth. Her name is Betty, Abigail's cousin. Betty was believed to be touched by the devil, similar to Ruth's situation. The only difference is that Betty wailed instead of Ruth being silent and lifeless.
During an argument with Abigail, Mercy, and Mary, Betty begins to wail. Abigail goes to Betty and tells her to wake up. No response. Abigail begins shaking Betty furiously. Abigail screams, "I'll beat you, Betty!" Betty shoots out of bed, frightened of Abigail, and runs straight into a wall. Then she goes insane, shouting, "I want my mama!" Abigail reminds her that her mom is dead, but Betty responds that she wants to fly to her mom.
Betty is really throwing a fit because she missed her mom and doesn't like when people are having arguments. This is common today because of course a child would be acting this way when they lose their mom.
Again, it is outrageous that these people would think that this girl is possessed as well because she is throwing a fit.
Yeah, it really is an outrage for her to be accused as being part of witchcraft. But Betty wasn't the last victim to be accused of taking part in Satan-like activities. There is a woman named Sarah Good who is falsely convicted of strange behaviors that Stanny will further elaborate on.
Oh yes, of course. Fruity, I almost forgot about Miss Sarah Good. Sarah would often arrive at the proctor's house begging for food and something to drink. When Sarah would get turned down, she would begin to mumble something. Mary Warren found this to be odd and mysterious. Mary would soon later report these situations, which led to Sarah being sentenced to court.
At court, Judge Hathorne questioned Sarah on what she was mumbling. Sarah told him that she had been reciting the 10 Commandments. Hathorne had then asked her to recite these commandments right there in court. Sarah failed to do this, which led to many believing she was a liar.
Today, it is not common for a person to know their 10 Commandments right off the top of their head. No one is going to be accused of being a witch because of this.
After listening to these cases, do you begin to question the Salem court system and its actions? Looking back at this now, I don't agree with the reasons behind these trials. What do you think, Stanny?
I'm with you there, Fruity. It's hard to understand the reasonings behind the witch trials. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Serial. You guys were a terrific bunch, but not as good as Captain Crunch! At the age of 10, Ruth had been throwing many
Stop. And the reasoning for these actions is that you did kind of cover up. Like 115, like 120-ish. Like I might barely weigh 120.
When Sarah would go and get that
Hey guys, this is Fruity O'Wright.
Hey ladies and gentlemen, this is Stanley Crunch.
And
This is Serial.
Danny Crunch.
I was waiting on you. You're supposed to do it like